So I'm here to talk to you guys about engagement in games. Now, we hear a lot about evoking emotion and engaging emotion, but not really about what makes them different and how to do one versus the other. So look at this picture. Isn't it pretty? All these emotions just coming out at you. It's evoking them. It's evoking them. And then we get to something like Spec Ops: The Line, where you will have your heart crushed. It's engaging your emotions. It's not a pretty picture. It's something that's doing something actively to you. So, as I kind of explained, what's the difference? We have evocation, which is to bring out and pull forward. Engagement is to involve and make active. Very, very important distinction as we go on. So, look at these guys. They might actually care. It's hard to tell. They're present, they're looking. But how do we get them to engage? What's the secret formula to get them to do this? Well, uncertainty. The idea is that you need to evoke emotion and then put it at risk. That's how you take it from just bringing something out to rattling people. And we do this through dramatic substance. Now, dramatic substance is broken down into 5 principles when it comes to games. We have sense of agency, communication of character, creation of complications, play integration, and presentation. So everything's going to get really complex, and I'm going to have to talk really fast, so buckle up. All right, sense of agency. As we talked about in the last talk, it's the sense that the players have that their choices matter. I'm not talking about actually giving your player choice, but you want to give them the sense that they have consequences. You want to make them believe. The same way that they foster a suspension of disbelief, you need to foster a sense of agency. Do not violate the sense of agency. Don't. Do not violate the sense of agency. It doesn't matter what your game is doing. It doesn't matter if it's open world or single player. You need to establish it and keep it there. Okay, next one, communication of character. Look at this table. It's a happy table. In fact, it's a creepily happy table. Now, you're all judging this creepily happy table. Poor creepy table. But what I've just done there is I've communicated its character. You've gone from just looking at it to either sympathizing with it, judging it, rejecting it. This is what separates character from merely telling something or evoking something. Anything can have character. A city, a table, even a person. So character also has a very important aspect that you don't see covered in games, and we kind of touched on in the last talk. In order to do any of these things, you have to have an innate separation from the player. If you're integrated in totality with yourself, you can't sympathize with yourself. You can't judge yourself. It's not really something players can do while they're shooting monsters, or even when it's a quiet moment. You need to be able to take a step outside of yourself, either through self-reflection or really simply by having something that's not you in order to interact with it. Character is what we use to take our aesthetics and layer them with meaning, because you're able to actually form emotional opinions beyond your gut reactions. You're able to codify things. You're able to make them more interesting. Look, another table. Creation of complications. So now that we've gotten the player to care, that we've communicated emotion, what do we do next? We start to fuck with them. You do this by creating obstacles, challenges, and reversals to the state of the play. I'm not just talking about plot. This is something that needs to be intrinsic, whether you're going really heavy narrative, really heavy gameplay design, League of Legends, or Walking Dead, it doesn't matter. Complications are what generate uncertainty. And this uncertainty is also something major to your tone. It's what gives it a flavor. You know, it's how you handle your subject matter. All you need to know is if you're creating uncertainty, your complications are working. Now we have play integration, and this is something I generally disagree with a lot of people on. Most people look at plot and narrative and gameplay as really separate things, and when you try to meld them together, you get some weird, horrific monstrosity. In my opinion, it's a lot more like this. It's awesome. You do this in order to tap into the core power of your medium. Games are mechanical. You don't want to waste your time trying to jam story in with cutscenes or text blocks. You want to do it through your mechanics. If you don't, you're just wasting your time. Why are you making a game? Games are only a partially visual medium. It doesn't mean don't show. It just means do first, show some, never tell. Now on to the last part, presentation. This is everything else. This is the surface look of your game. This is the box art. This is the music, everything that's there to do the first thing we talked about, evoke emotion. This surface, well, most people will just kind of toss it away saying, oh, that's not the thing that matters. It really does. It's what gives us the fodder to start screwing with our players. It's what gets them to this emotional frame of mind in the first place. That's not to say it's without its problems. You don't want to overscale presentation, and there are a million reasons why. Yeah, don't overscale presentation. But okay, now we get to closing. The biggest takeaway from all of this is everything I've talked about is not just applicable to narrative-heavy games. All of these points apply to any game at all. League of Legends follows all these principles. Minecraft follows all these principles. They engage the player. They communicate character through their objects. They create uncertainty either through the enemy team or just the mineral composition of your minds. This stuff works. When players are exposed to dramatic substance, you create engagement. It's how you play fetch with your players' hearts. This is the goal of most designers I know. So now that you know this, go forth. And thanks for listening.